I mean, you've talked about the effect simplicity has on our on the amount of boredom in our lives, but there are some designs that are really aesthetically pleasing and also and part of that aesthetic pleasing is because of their simplicity. Is all simplicity does all simplicity lead to boredom, or is there kind of a is it a gradient?
Yeah, it's more nuanced, isn't it? So you're right. I mean, there are um, elements of simplicity that we do find attractive. Think of something like symmetry, for example. We are
Yeah.
attracted to symmetry, and that's probably biological. And so that you can see that as kind of a contradiction, I suppose, to the idea that we like complexity. But it's not really, because there can be more than one thing that attracts us. So, and sometimes people in design talk about this is a big thing in interior design. People talk about organized complexity. So
Mm,
you can have a design that has lots of features, so it's complex in that sense, but there's an order to them that makes that complexity more um, makes it easier to apprehend it as a thing. So again, like you can see that as a contradiction, but you can also see it as complexity being just one element that might affect our preference for particular kinds of environments.
yeah. What is kind of what are the things that are indicative of a enjoyable or pleasant or um, humane sounds wrong because that has connotations and has other meanings for that word, but a humane design.
Well, I think we've already talked about complexity, order in the sense of organized complexity, symmetry. Another aspect of the environment. Again, I'm kind of thinking of interiors at this point, but not, I guess this is not just interiors. Curvature has a surprisingly positive impact on people's
Hmm,
responses toward spaces. I
hmm,
think, one of the things that's important to recognize about this is that um, it can be problematic to think about how to design an optimal space in terms of there being this alphabet of features that, if I get
hmm.
the following five factors right, then I will have the best environment that I can have. Because
Right.
there are all kinds of strange nonlinearities between these factors. So it can be very hard to predict how particular combinations of features might have an impact on people's responses to them, without first putting them together. That's
Hmm.
kind of I know that's a little bit of a wishy-washy argument to say, well, we don't know. I mean, I can't give you the comprehensive list of things that we need to do.
Yeah.
But I think it's nevertheless the case that, we can identify things like the ones that I've mentioned to you, form, symmetry, curvature, complexity, order, um,
Hmm.
and others. But that doesn't mean that I can then give you a formula and say, okay, look, do the following things and people will love this environment. It's a little bit hard to predict in that fashion.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I would imagine there's an element of we know what not to do, and we can kind of draw from inference that, okay, then if we do these things, it's probable that we're going to like the outcome.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. I think, I have a friend and colleague. He's an architect. His name is Ty Farrow, and he's been arguing, I think, with great merit recently that in fields like mine, there has been maybe too much emphasis on things that we're doing wrong. So when I've
Mm,
published about the influence of facade complexity on people's responses, I've published in the context of, look, if we go too low on complexity, then I can show you measures of human responses that indicate that this is bad for you. And
mm,
Ty says, let's flip all of that because we're not really interested in environments that are bad for you. Interested in environments that actually promote health. So there's a word for this that's being used more and more, which is salutogenesis. So let's make salutogenic environments that actually are settings that promote good health.